Hello and welcome to my guide discussing the debate on whether or not you should go for a two-handed weapon or choose to dual wield as a Windwalker monk. In this video, not only will we be going over what the difference is, but we will be going in depth on why you should pick up a one-handed or two-handed weapon and how it will benefit you. So let's get started by first going over what the difference is, and later we'll be going over what weapon choice will benefit you the most. There are a few differences we need to take under consideration before we can just pick whether or not we should go one-hand or two-hand. The first and most noticeable difference comes into play with our passive ability that we get as a Windwalker monk called Way of the Monk. This passive gives us different effects depending on whether or not we choose to equip a two-handed weapon or choose to dual wield. If we choose to equip a two-handed weapon, it increases our attack speed by 55%, and if we choose to dual wield, our attacks will deal 25% more damage. In the most recent patch from 6.0 to 6.1, Blizzard changed this passive to better equalize the two. It used to be that dual wielding was the way to go. However, since they nerfed it from 50% auto attack damage down to 25%, there's not too much of a difference when you compare them side by side now. It more or less depends on the player and what he or she is doing, whether or not it be PvE or PvP, and what his or her setup is, meaning the talent choices and so on. We will go in greater detail about this in a minute. Finally, let's go over the last important detail, and that is weapon damage. As a monk, all your spells are buffed by your weapon damage. The stronger the weapon, the more damage your spells will do. There's a small difference when comparing this from one-handed and two-handed weapon, as your damage gets buffed completely by your weapon. When dual wielding, your spells are only buffed by your main hand, and your offhand is just there for the extra stats. Before you make the decision right now, it is not that much of a difference, so don't worry too much about it. You'll next be going over some questions that you should ask yourself before choosing whether or not to go for dual wielding or a two-handed weapon to help you better narrow down on your decision. So let's hop right into that. One of the first questions you should ask yourself before deciding whether or not you should pick up a one-hander to dual wield with or go with a two-hander is whether or not you're a PvPer or PvEer. Now, even though you might think that they're pretty much the same, there's a huge difference in PvE and PvP when making this decision, and that is being able to connect with your target. Back before the patch where they changed the passive on Way of the Monk, the thing that was going so well for dual wielding was the auto attack damage. You might not really notice it, but that damage would rack up very fast when you were connected to your target. Now, it's not as noticeable, especially in PvP where you will never be on your target 100% of the time. PvP is unpredictable, and classes now have a lot of snares, slows, and outs that are integrated with their normal rotation. However, in PvE, you're connected to your target mostly 100% of the time. So you have to ask yourself, if you PvP, when you connect to your target, if you can do enough weapon damage to compensate for that small buff that you'll be getting with your spells if you were to equip a two-handed weapon instead of dual wielding for the damage buff. The next question you need to ask yourself is, what spec are you running? There are two different builds / talent choices you can use as a Windwalker monk. One is sustained and the other one is burst. The sustained build more focuses around talents like Chi Explosion and Rushing Jade Wind, where the burst build is more like Hurricane Strike and Invoke Xuen. For these two different builds, I would say having more spell damage from a two-handed weapon would benefit more in this situation than the extra auto attack damage because it adds on to your burst. And the sustained build would benefit more out of having more sustained damage with your auto attacks to add on, if that makes any sense. All in all guys, even after going over the difference between one-handed dual wielding versus the two-handed weapon, there's not much of a difference. Even when comparing side by side, it's not that noticeable. The real factor comes down to the player and what you're doing. Everyone plays differently, so I would suggest buying honor weapons when you're capped out on honor gear and no longer need it anymore, and go into a few BGs to compare the two. However, I will say in my opinion, for PvP, a two-handed weapon is probably better for you, but again, it's not by much, so if you're someone like me that got screwed over by Blizzard a week before they announced the patch, on the passive Way of the Monk, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Again, I suggest comparing the two when you get a chance, but other than that, hope this video helped you make your choice, and look forward to seeing you all in the next video. If you found this guide helpful, please like the video and share it around to anyone else that you think it might help. Again, look forward to seeing you all in the next video, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Take it easy, guys.
Good Gaming, an e-learning and social networking platform built exclusively for gamers and designed to turn you into an esports champion. We give you the tools, resources, and support to game better. Instructional videos and e-learning guides give you access to powerful strategies and the secrets of the pros so you can dominate your opponents. Our exclusive mercenary system gives you access to personalized support or offer your own services to the highest bidder. And compete in exclusive Good Gaming online tournaments to win cash and prizes. What are you waiting for? Become a Good Gaming member today. Good Gaming, revolutionize your game.